Well, hello everybody and welcome to my live session. I'm back again. Now, sorry about being 5 minutes late, but I somehow couldn't seem to get YouTube to play ball. Went to look for the live link, but I couldn't seem to find it. But I found it eventually, kind of really deep into the settings. Okay, well we're here now, so welcome to the live session. And as you can see, I'm working on this little red squirrel today. This one I started on the other day, if you remember, so I'm just kind of part the way through it. So really at the early stages, but I'm just about to start adding all the detail in there, which is what I'm going to do in a minute. Now that's the photograph in general, as you can see. You can see it down in the bottom corner here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of getting stuck into this today and just relaxing and painting. Now I've not got any music on in the background, just for a change. And if you want to ask any questions, you know where I am, and say hello. Please say hello to me, because it's just nice to know that people are, around and watching and so on. If you want to ask any questions, as I mentioned, anything about the materials I use, then please go ahead. I don't mind. I don't bite. Well, not every day anyway. So you're more than welcome to ask away. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of raw umber just around the side of the eye, the right hand side of the eye, using my detail brush. And what I want to do, I want to gradually build up the layers bit by bit, just lightly softening down these layers in between. And a little thing as well, if you stay tuned right to the end, I'm going to ask you a question, okay, and I need you to think about the right answer, and the first person with the right answer will win a free downloadable PDF lesson on wildlife painting. And this will be from one of my PDFs on my website, which is obviously down below there. So you can get a chance to win this, and the question's going to be to you. Okay, I'll check all the answers later on, obviously just before we finish. And the question is going to be, out of birds, I like painting a lot of birds. There's one bird I have yet to paint. Okay, so there's one bird I have yet to paint. But this bird has a lot of iridescent colours. So a lot of iridescent colours. Which bird is it? So, if you put the comments down below, then let me know, and I'll have a look at them. The first person to get it right will win a free downloadable PDF of their choice on my website. We're getting down there, as you know. And so it's well worth just bearing that in mind. So if you fancy winning a free lesson, then yeah, there you go. Not too bad when we're all kind of cooped up at home at the moment, isn't it? Now you can see I'm looking at the detail around it. I'm looking at the angle of these lines. So I want to think about the general direction. Now when I look down the centre of the forehead all the way down to the eyes, it looks as if you got like a central line, to like a 12 o'clock direction, 12 o'clock till 6 o'clock direction. Think about a clock face, okay? And around this side, it gradually kind of tapers out like a big fan. That's what I'm looking at. So it gradually goes over to the right hand side there. So what I like to do every now and then, I'll put a few little reference marks just in that general direction that I can see on the reference photo here. I'll just outline just a little bit of area there. And now these reference marks will help keep me on track while I'm doing the painting, which is what I like to do. So that then goes towards more 2 o'clock direction there, then kind of brings it back around again more towards like a 1 o'clock direction, and then back to midday. There you go. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, now I want these lines to be very short, very tiny, so I'm going to keep reloading this brush. Let's bring that down a little bit more for you. I'm going to have a quick nose at the computer just briefly and see who said hello, so bear with me a minute. So I can't ignore you, I do want to paint as well, but I'm here to sit here relaxing as you all are at home, hopefully at home. Stay home. You know you got to stay home, so please stay home. And as I say, that's what Joe and I are trying to do at the moment. Stay home most of the time. We go out for our walks around the lanes here, and that's about all we do. So gradually build up the detail overlapping. So these lines really, all they simply are, look. If I get my scrap watercolour paper, this is what I do for testing all the colours out. See, that's going to be the fur colour in there. That's going to be burnt umber, burnt sienna, and raw umber. So a mixture of those three colours there to give me that kind of colour in the middle. And that's going to vary between those three colours as I go along. Now when I'm doing these lines, it's not easy. Let's get a little bit of burnt umber just so you can see it. Just about. What I'm doing is actually I'm overlapping these lines a little bit. So these lines are slightly overlapping. It's not watery enough, I know. Something like that, okay? So slightly overlapping a little bit. But in paler, thinner lines is the way I'm trying to, and also shorter lines as well. So it's something you've got to think about. Now I'll have a quick look on there, very, very briefly, and see what people are saying. Maria Cleaver, hello Maria. Thank you very much indeed. Julie Andrew, hello Julie. Andre, hello, how are you today? Thumbs up to you too. Amanda Robin, hello from me too. Sullen Raven, hi Paul, I'm looking forward to watching this. Happy Easter. And same to you too. Oh yeah, hey, we've got Easter eggs today as well. Oh, I know, don't tell anybody. We got Kim, hello Kim, hi Paul, happy Easter. Hi to all. Una, hello Una, how are you? Marie Cleve, happy Easter everyone. Andre, Lapwing, oh yeah, here comes a question. Oh yeah, okay, I'm not going to answer any of these just yet. Not just yet. Because I'm going to leave that to the very end and I'll announce the person who is first on my list here. Amanda Robbins, hi Paul, how do you know when to stop painting the small lines? When is enough? Oh, enough never is enough, is it? You know, when you're doing these little lines like this. The thing when you're working with little details, I find that the more detail you add, the more realistic it will become. That's what I'm looking for. So using this very pale colour first of all will just give me a bit of a foundation within the detail. So this is just a basic layer of detail underneath. And that's what I'm looking at doing for this one. MRR, okay. We're setting an alarm to make sure we didn't miss a live lesson. Thank you very much indeed, MRR. It's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Let's have a quick look. Okay. Let's back to the painting, Paul. Oh, that's nice of you. That's very kind. Yeah, Amanda, as I said, when you're working with small lines like this, all you got to think about is, you know, just keep them nice and pale to begin with, and keep looking at that reference photo. As I said, I've got this here, as you can see here. So just a little bit now. I'm trying to keep this so I can just actually get hold of it without it falling off my table here. So bear with me. Very amateurish, I know. I'm going to pop something underneath it. That's better. I can see it now. I've normally got that stood up in front of me, but because I've got cameras and lights in front of me at the moment, I can't see it where it normally is positioned. Now I'm going to work my way down towards the nose, just using this pale mix, or this pale colour at the moment. Just working my way down. And I can see that when you get down towards the pink, the pink area of the nose, the lines get tinier and shorter all the time. They're getting absolutely tiny, really, really tiny. So eventually, basically what you're doing around this area, more stippling more than creating lines. So it's stipple, stipple, stipple. And then as you come away, you look at this clock face. Think about the clock face from this point on the nose as well. So think about a spiral. So it's going to spiral out in both ways like that. And that's what I'm looking for. From that point, a bit like a big moustache really, isn't it? I'm working my way around the side. Now hopefully you can all hear and see everything okay today. Because I know my little web camera here isn't perfect. My normal filming camera is really good, by the way, which I create the videos with, but this web camera isn't. It's not bad, it's okay. So I'm gradually working my way around with that. But I have a lot of problems with if I try using my normal camera, there's a lot of problems with the lights affecting and causing like a strobe effect over the painting, so you know, on the video. So I've got to be careful with that. It's all down to, I think it's down to different 50 Hertz and 60 Hertz regulations in different countries anyway. It gets quite complex. So anyway, yeah. So I'm going to use this webcam today. Now this kind of curves up like that. Again, I'm looking carefully at this reference photo, and you can see, I'll just show you a little bit closer for the reference photo itself. I don't know if this is the same one, so bear with me, that's that one there. So when I show you that, you see what I mean there? So look around that nose and you can see around the nose itself the detail that's within there, and the little dot in the middle, sort of, probably about 2/3 of the way down from the bridge of the nose, so either side of the nostrils, down to where the bottom of the nostrils are. So two-thirds of the way down, right in the middle is roughly where I'm trying to create this like a half spiral. Alright, give you some general idea. I'm working with that at the moment. So Raven, like it. Jonathan, hello Jonathan. Yes, the photograph, by the way, Jonathan, I should have mentioned this right at the beginning, is by a cracking photographer called Pete Blanchard. Now, Pete Blanchard, as with a lot of photographers, they allow me to use their photos for my video tutorials on my website, and also for creating PDF downloads, and also for the magazines I write for, like Leisure Painter. So they're very kind. I've got a lot of kind photographers out there, and I know how much work goes into taking a photograph. Believe me, I've tried. I haven't got any super duper camera, not in that sense, but I've got a reasonable quality one. So I know what kind of hard work it is to get the reference photo. So thank you to Roger Wasley for the cracking photograph he's obviously provided there. Okay, there we go. There you are. That's that bit done. Must do that more often. It's only fair, isn't it? It's only fair. So as I mentioned, if you've got any questions you want to fire at me, you're more than welcome to while you got me live here for the hour. About the brushes and materials, the paper, anything you want to know about, within reason, of course, let me know. I'm here to try and do my best to answer a few queries and questions on these trying times that we're all going through at the moment, which is why a lot of people are taking up painting. A lot of people are kind of getting the old paints out of the cupboard again, and I've had a lot of people contact me recently as well, which is great for me in a sense, but it's also good to hear that people are actually getting out and painting. Well, not getting out, but getting the paints out, which is brilliant. Okay, so what I would do at this stage here, just get my other brush. I'm going to go for size 5. Okay, that other one was a size 00. I'm going to very lightly, not too much water on the brush though, Paul, very lightly just soften this down a little bit. Just knock it back. Okay. And what I tend to do is have a tissue, a bit of a kitchen roll, that's all it is, and drag it through a little bit, and then just use the side of the brush just to ease this down, and do it in the direction that the lines go as well, or grow, whichever. And this will do just for that first basic layer of detail around the forehead, well, all the way around the front of the face, really, isn't it? Just a little bit more there, along the side. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. So what's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's keeping well, and I hope that you're working on a painting at the moment. If you are, let me know down below. I'd love to hear what it is, especially if it's wildlife as well. You're painting a cat, a dog, an ant? I've got no idea. So let me know. It'd be quite interesting. So just down the bottom there, working my way around, and that's softened down. So while that's drying, what I'm going to do is start working on another area, and I'm thinking about the lighter area around the side there, because we've got to consider the colours. And when you're mixing colours for anything like this, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get some fresh watercolour scrap paper. Now, when you're testing paints out, always use the same paper that you're going to be painting your main painting on. That's what I tend to do. And the reason why is because different papers react in different ways. Colours look different on different papers, and you find some papers are more absorbent than others, some papers are whiter than others, some papers are less absorbent, and also you get different textures as well, which you find, and different qualities. So there's so much to think about. So just make sure that you're doing your testing, in my eyes, and that's what I tell people, on the same quality paper that you're using, the same make, in fact, that you're using for your main paper. Now the paper I use, out of interest, I don't get paid by them, by the way, is Bockingford. So Bockingford £140 GSM, and it's a not surface. So in other words, it's not been through hot rollers. So the idea is that when you get the hot press paper, which a lot of botanical artists use, don't they? They've gone through hot rollers, so it's nice and smooth, really silky smooth kind of paper to work with. And it is nice actually, but I prefer a slight bit of texture, and I find the washes work better on there as well. So what I'm looking at, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll get a bigger brush. For the colours is, just wet that down first actually, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go for this one here, I'm going to go for the raw umber, a little bit more, something like that. And I'm looking at that for the side of the cheek as well, around that area there. See what I mean? So somewhere like that. So a bit of raw umber. Okay, so I'm just reading some comments there. I'll answer those in a minute. It's a little bit of raw umber, so I need to paint. And I'm going to wet further down and bigger line. That's how I test all my colours out. Now I can spend probably half an hour, maybe even longer, playing with the colours. And my colours are all these kind of assortments here. That's my colour palette, which I work from. Just give you some general idea what I work from. And I mostly use half pans. Okay. So that's what I mostly use. I do have tube paints as well, but because I do a lot of detail work, the half pans I find are quite suitable. You know, and they do the job. They really do. Now this colour, as you can see here, is a mixture of 3 different colours. Now I've got Indian red, okay, so Indian red. I've also got alizarin crimson and just a touch of burnt sienna, just to warm it up a little bit because it's a little bit dull otherwise. And you can see when you kind of offer that next to the photograph down the bottom there, you can see the difference, well, very similar colours within this and that there, okay. And then over the top of that, just for the slightly darker areas, we can add a little bit of burnt umber, a little bit more, just to dullen it down and add that slightly darker feel to it. And for those really dark areas, which there aren't many, apart from around the nuts and probably between the claws and the paws, I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber in there as well. Oh, sorry, burnt umber, lamp black with burnt umber, just to darken it even more. So I'll give you some general idea of the kind of testing I do before I start painting and how it all works, which is why I've got things like test sheets like this one here, which you can see in the corner of the screen here, which I'm working from as well. Okay, right, I'll continue now. Now I've kind of explained that for you to give you some general idea on what I do. Now then, okay, back to the 00 brush. And we'll have a quick look. Okay, so what we got on there very quickly. Okay, so let's have a quick look. So working on a frog, Amanda, well done. Andre just finished a bald eagle. Yes. Oh, it's not my bald eagle, is it? The one from the tutorial, from the video. I don't know actually. Okay. Or is it one that you're working on separately, Andre? It could be. What size brushes are you using, please, Amanda? I'll try and scroll through this properly. There's a lot of comments on there. Now, Amanda, this particular brush is a Winsor & Newton. Okay, so Winsor & Newton as a Cotman Series 111. I don't know if you can see that on a closer up view. I'll just see if I can just zoom in a little bit more for you. Is that better? So yeah, so Winsor & Newton, Cotman Series 111, size 00. And these are synthetic brushes, which I prefer to use, especially for the detail work as well, which I do find much better for the work I do. I find it's got less spring as well, so, or the snap rate, in other words. And all I mean by that, the snap rate on a brush is if you just hold it down like so, and it snaps really quickly back like that, so it's got a very quick snap rate. Whereas you find some brushes, I haven't got one here to show you at the moment, have a very slow snap rate. So in other words, are very flexible and allow you to well, add a lot of washes as well. You can really fill them up with water and colour on there. Very quickly, beautiful photograph. Oh yeah, I saw that. Thank you, Jonathan. Working on a frog, just finished a bald eagle. That's the same question. Yeah, got that. Working on a frog. We have jays that return every year. Can't wait to see the the family this year. We've got birds nesting our bird boxes at the moment. Just started because we've got 8 cameras around the garden here. So we've got them on one big screen in the living room. So we've got that by the side of the television, which is quite nice. So we watch all the birds, which is great. So we've got a great tit, which is built probably about a stage 2 of the nest now. So you've got about 5 stages. Depends on what bird ringers tend to. I think it's 5 stages. Bird ringers go off. but we've got a stage 2, so the cup isn't formed yet, but it's getting there. It's getting there, and that's a great tit on one of our cameras. And we've got house sparrows in another one. We're hoping to get some blue tits in one, and we do very often, very soon, get the house martins here as well, which I've got 4 boxes up underneath the eaves of the house, ready for them to kind of go in there. So really interesting as well, really interesting. Okay, so I'm waiting for the masking fluid to dry. My wolf got that. We're definitely painting, but it's the hall, stairs and landing. We bought your fox last night. Thank you very much indeed, Emma, for buying my fox painting. You were very kind. So it's great to know it's going to a good home. Just don't put it in the downstairs loo, okay? That's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. Now, gradually working. This is a paler side here. I'm trying to think where the cheekbone comes around. It's about around that area there, isn't it, on the reference photo? You can just about make it out. So I'm going to just lightly kind of tap that in, just so I don't lose my way. And there's like a second one just there as well. Now, when you load your brush up, what I do, I load it by putting it into the palette, load it, roll it, and pull away. And then occasionally, if there's too much on there, I'll tap it on some kitchen roll by the side of me. Just take any kind of residual paint off the brush. Otherwise, you find it gets a little bit overloaded. Oh, Emma, thank you for thank you for buying the fox, by the way. As I said, also bearing in mind the fox is one I've done for one of my video tutorials on my website that people obviously subscribe to. So that's the fox painting in question. You've got the original fox from my video, so thank you very much indeed. There you go. So all my members who are on my website who paint from my we've got well over 50 video tutorials on there now. A lot of them have painted that fox as well from my video. But you've got the original, you got the first one. So well done you. And I never paint the same painting twice. And the reason behind that, because I like to call it an original. Okay, so that's the way. That's just me. So you definitely got a one-off in my side. Okay, so working my way down. I'm just looking at the angle again around here. A little bit of pencil there. Actually, I'm just going to very lightly soften that pencil down with a damp, clean brush. You can do it this way around, so it's not too sharp. And if it remains too sharp, I will be using some watercolor white on this painting as well, which I'll be doing later on. But that's obviously later in the stage at the same time. Okay, very quickly, let's have a quick look on there. Okay, so sketching an otter, sidetrack watching you. Haha, thank you, Kim. Oh, Una, just about to finish painting a long-tailed tip for my video, I take it. I've been struggling with the white paint, but fairly happy with the overall picture. I'll post it to Facebook in a little while. Yes, please, I'd love to see it, and I'll be on there this evening to have a look at that as well. So it'll be quite interesting to see, because I think the thing is, because you know, when my members like yourself paints from my videos, always gives me one heck of a buzz. It really does. I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, I mean, I know it's a business for me as well, but at the end of the day, it's just nice to know that people are actually getting some enjoyment from it, you know, as well as myself, obviously, you know, from the art side of things. And so it's good to see when people do complete one of my videos. And I know the long-tailed tit's quite a popular one, as was the fox, Emma, and still is. But yeah, thank you very much indeed. So anybody that's on my website that's painted from my video tutorials, or painted from one of my downloadable PDFs, then please post them on my Devon Artist website. Or well, what you can do, you can email it to me if you want to, and I can put it onto Facebook. Or you can go onto my Devon Artist Facebook page, which you'll find. Okay, so just go onto Facebook, type in the Devon Artist, and you find me. And you're welcome to share your painting there from one of my video tutorials, or from one of my PDFs. Okay. Or mentioning PDFs, one thing that my partner Joe and myself has sorted out recently, because I've got, oh heck, how many have I got now? Probably about 60 different PDFs for downloading. So PDF tutorials on watercolor, how to paint wildlife, from a variety of subjects, from from a horse to a dog to a cat to to birds, a variety of things, as I mentioned. is that we're now offering 50% off on all of the PDFs just for this limited time until the end of this coronavirus issue, and just so we can just try and get more people painting. Yes, it means more sales for us, but we don't get as much money, obviously. But it's just trying to help people out at the same time, as well as ourselves as a business, I'm being honest. So if you fancy getting 50% off on the PDFs, I'll put a link on here in a minute for you while I'm just working on this. You see this gradually coming together just with that first layer. See what I mean, while I'm yapping away here. And the link, if I just find it for you in a minute, is going to be this one here. So all you got to do, if you go to, when you choose what PDFs you want to buy, go to obviously my shop on my website. When you get to the checkout, just put in that code there. So hashtag, and it's initial capitals, so stay at home. Okay, so hashtag stay at home. Put that in, and you get 50% off all the PDFs that you buy. So we've done that recently just to make sure that, well, one, we can get a few odd sales here and there, but also to ensure that people get painting as well. Alright, okay, there you go. That gives something you can do. I'll just take that off now. We don't want that on the screen all the time, do we? Bit of advertising. I'm not one for that. I'm not really. Okay, so as you can see, I'm gradually building this one up. Now, even though there's going to be white around here, I still need to put some colour on there because of the fact I'll be using white paint. You could reserve the white of the paper, but I'm not that kind of person. I do use white paint, I do use black paint. It's the way I've painted all my life. I've been painting for over 40 years now, and all that time I've always used white and black paint. Okay, black paint I'll add a colour to it, like a brown or a red. I very rarely use black on its own because it can be quite flat. And the white paint, sometimes I'll even tint that paint down after I've applied it to the paper. So, you know, I do use white, I do use black. But because I'm using white around here, as I mentioned, and probably around the top of the eye, underneath the eye, I do need that dark underneath. It's like last week when I went live on here, put a little bit of a white highlight within the eyes here, as you can see. But then I overlaid that once it was dry with a little bit of a cerulean blue with indigo mix, which, if you remember, was this one here. Okay, so that's which is nicely dried up. See, that's the thing about watercolor paints, is that you can just keep reusing them. You know, well, just within reason. Sometimes 3 or 4 times I'll re-wet these paints, and then I find that they go a little bit bitty after a while, which they can do. Alright, so working my way down that little bit there. I can still see my reference pencil marks underneath there as well. And then now for the ears. There was little ears in there. Can't quite see the inside of the ears, can we? Or as we say up north, the lug holes. It's the lug holes. You got something in your lug hole? What should we do? I'm a northerner, even though I live in North Devon now. Okay, very lightly. Pale, pale washes. Now then, we've been on for about half an hour now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a slurp of coffee for literally 2 minutes while I look at the comments which you've got on here, okay? And so I'm going to have a quick look through them, and I'll be back with you in 2 minutes time. I'll have a quick break on my voice box and have a see what people have said actually. So 1 minute, I'm back in the mo. Here's a little thing about this month's video tutorial which I've got on my website and on Patreon as well that people are doing. Okay, here we go. Ready? And now here's some video clips from my main watercolor video on how to paint a very realistic looking wolf. Let's get started. Now that'll give you some ideas on how to paint a wolf in watercolour. Now I'll guide you right from the beginning all the way through to the final brush strokes in over 6 hours of video tuition, where I'll teach you various techniques along the way. So let's make a start on painting this very nice looking wolf, and let's get the brushes wet. Why, thank you very much indeed for watching that. I've had a nice slurp of coffee while I've been sat here, so it's been very nice, thank you. I've been looking at the comments as well, by the way. Who we got? Are you alone? No, that's different. Let's have a quick look. I'm losing the plot here, sorry guys. One from my own photo, Paul. Thank you, Andre. Oh yeah, well you are a good photographer. I've seen your work on Flickr, you know that. Amanda Robbins, yes, thank you, not a problem. Una, wearing Sussex. Oh, that's not for me, that's for... Oh, Una, what you like? Oh, Amanda Robbins, always struggle with a detailed layer, so it's great to watch your process. Thank you very much indeed, Amanda. As I say, this is just the first layer, so I'm going to build on top of this in a minute. I need to do this all over the body, but I'm just going to work on the head for now, just in we're live today, okay? So you can get some general idea that's going to work. Let's have a quick look. Okay. Anybody else? I should be able to hear you from here. Oh, that's between you two again. Okay. Julie Andrew. Hello, Julie. Okay. Yes. How long will the paints last? Within here, to be honest with you, if I don't wet these, if I use them once and I don't wet them, I've got other ceramic palettes like this one, which I've got in my drawer here for other paintings which have started, which could be about 2 months, 3 months ago. And all I need to do is re-wet them, which simply reactivates the paint, and away you go again. It's that simple. But as I said, you know, the thing with any paints is that when you re-wet, and you keep re-wetting, eventually they do get a little bit bitty, some of the paints, which I've found. But normally, they'll keep like that. If I let that dry for a few months in the drawer, no problem at all, I can just reuse them. And that's the beauty about watercolours. And the other benefit through watercolours, as we know, is the fact that there's no smell really, is there? It's odourless, more or less. You know, and that's what's the beauty about it is really. It's not messy because it's water. You're using basic tinted water at the end of the day. Doesn't take up much space. My studio here isn't really a studio. It's a spare bedroom. Okay, there's a insight for everybody, behind the scenes stuff, which it is. It's basically I just work from a spare bedroom. We've still got the bed in here. I can't show you that at the moment because I haven't got a second camera on, but that's how I work. I've basically got one table. That's it. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many tables you got or what kind of space you got. As long as you've got some cupboards to store things in, then you can work from the kitchen table, from the living room, as long as you've got reasonable quality light, and you've also got, as I say, just time really. If you don't mind having to move it, but if you got it on one, I've got this on an angled board which you can buy on the old Tinternet, and the board itself is probably at a, how can I explain this? The angle is probably something like that. So imagine a house brick on its side, on the top end of this, underneath it. That's roughly the kind of angle I tend to work at. So I've got a board here which is on an angle, and I tend to use an angled board because, well, one, it saves your back. I spent many years before I went professional, before I went full-time doing this. I don't like using the word professional, even though I suppose that's true, but it's not something I like to say. I spent many years working for the waterboard as a meter reader, and when you're bending down 300-400 times in a day to lift covers up in the footpaths, your back tends to feel it after a while, you know. So I like to paint on a slight angle, which is why when I had a watery wash on anything, it tends to run down the paper. But what I've actually got, I've got a block of wood which I'll prop underneath this paper here, just so I can just prop it up a little bit to prevent that, you know. So there you go. I'll give you some ideas what I use here. Now I'm looking at these angles all the time. These ears are lovely, aren't they? They really are. constantly looking at the angles. Now my eyes are flicking backward and forward like I don't know what to my reference photograph here. And the reason why I do that is because it helps it, I don't know, kind of stay within my mind, if you know what I mean. Every few seconds my eyes are flicking backward and forward while I'm talking to you to my reference photo. Or Roger Wasley's. It could be Andrew Colfax as well. It could be his. Don't know. No, not this case. Now I'm switching the colour. Now remember that one I told you I'd mixed, which was the Indian red, alizarin crimson, and the burnt sienna. So I'm just going to switch to that one now, and very lightly start going over the top, crisscrossing all the time, thinking about this gentle curve. It kind of comes down to here, right down towards where the line goes down to the nose. There's a little cute little nose, and that's roughly where it's going down to. Don't overload that brush when you're doing anything like this, because you'll find that once you put a layer on, you've got to lift it off again, which you don't have to mess about using the lifting off technique too much in this case. Okay, working down there. Now I did show you a photograph last week, not a photograph, a painting last week, which is going to be next month's video tutorial. I'm still in the middle of editing the video, so I do all that as well. Now that particular one is a bumblebee on a violet looking flower, and I'll see if I can quickly find it for you. So bear with me 1 minute while I just throw everything around underneath here that you can't see off camera. I'm still here, okay? So while I'm talking to you, I'll have a quick look. Oh yeah, it makes your neck ache as well. Yeah, it certainly does, Maria. You're right. You're very, very right. Good Easter morning from Arizona, USA. Hello there. How are you, Melinda? Hope everything's okay. It's looking lovely, thank you. You're not starting the feather yet? What are you playing at? A little direction from, what's it? Starting the tiger, thank you. Do you usually use tube paints and spray with water? If so, what's the advantage over pans? Now, while I'm just getting my folder out here to show you the painting, which is going to be next month's, I tend to use tube paints occasionally, and I do use them to fill up my half-pan blocks, believe it or not, which I do. And I do that on purpose because it just saves time more than anything, which it tends to. You find the tube paints are very often more a richer colour, I find anyway, the ones that I tend to use, the Winsor & Newton ones, so they are richer, but the half pans are obviously more concentrated. When you look at something like this, this is a very concentrated paint. Now I don't know if they get that in the US. In the US, we in the UK we get something called squash, which is a drink, like I don't know, orange drink, that kind of thing. It's a dilutable drink, and you can get some really highly concentrated drink, and this is how I explain it to a lot of people. The more concentrated it is, the more, obviously the richer the flavour, or in this case the richer the colour. So this is very concentrated paint. So really what you can see here is the depth of the tone this will go with that amount of layers. You don't want that amount of layers, you don't want that amount of layers within the paint. But that'll show you how dark that colour will go. If you're using tube paint, yes, it's still lovely colour, and it depends on the quality of the paint as well, obviously. But you find that with tube paint, I find it harder to get the, I don't know, the consistency sometimes, and the kind of mix right. So that's why I tend to stick with half pans, and you find these half pan paints can last quite some time. They really can, which is really, really good. And I like it when the paints last longer. I've got to keep spending money to buy more. But after, as I said, all the years I've been painting, I've got quite a few, so that's not a problem. Okay, so did I go on the other camera there for you? I was going to show you this painting before I zoom. I don't know if I zoomed in on there. Yeah, I'll zoom in again in a minute. So this is the one in question. Okay, so this one I've just finished last week, and I've started editing the video. So it's a bumblebee on a prairie mallow flower. Okay, so bumblebee on a prairie mallow flower. I can't get the words out today. Sedelsia, is that the term for that? So that's that one, and that's going to be next month's video tutorial. So we're going to be working on botanical as well as life. Okay, so that's what hopefully people will be looking forward to, and I've only revealed that last week. I've not put it on any social media yet. So just kind of hopefully surprise people with that one. Something a little bit different, and also very delicate as well. Because obviously painting flowers, so working like a botanical way, can be very delicate work. So I'll just zoom back in there for you. Just a little bit close up. There we go. Oh, can you see me? Hello, it's me again. Now, okay, working around this side of the eye. The colour around here is actually much more intense. A little bit more intense. But I'm trying to allow some of that other colour to show through. So I don't want to go too thick on there. So what I mean, as I said, is to load it. Just get that into your shot there. Hopefully you can see that. So load it, roll it, pull away, and then dab it on some kitchen roll first. And then we'll come back in and start adding these final little details in between. These aren't dark enough yet. You know, these are not quite dark enough yet. But you find that with the painting, you need to gradually build this up bit by bit. I'm going to get a bit more kind of burnt sienna in there, which is this one here. Dab it. So you need to go gradually from light to dark. And also the reason why I tend to do that as well, instead of going too dark too quick, is that if you do go too dark too quick, you find if you make any happy accidents, any errors, then they are much more difficult to fix. But a lot of the time you can repair any little errors that you might make, or as a great Bob Ross used to say, as I mentioned, happy accidents, which I do like that term. I really do. I think that sounds great. So anybody ever watch Bob Ross? Very lightly touching, thinking about the shape all the time. And you find, because we've already got the watercolour washes down, which I did last week, live here on YouTube, because I've already got them down, we've already got a little bit of tonal value underneath, which you can build on top of now. That's a little bit too dark there. Sometimes you do use my finger. Make sure your hands are clean, by the way. You're not just had a jam sandwich or something like that. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. As I mentioned, I've got an Easter egg later on. Yay! Yorkie, the man's chocolate bar, so they say. And the woman's as well, I think. Just a little bit more down there. Now, I'm trying to see, I'm going to water this down a little bit. It's a little bit too thick. Take a little bit off. It's all about taking your time with this. When you're working on a painting, you must always take regular breaks. Which is why I'm limiting this to roughly about 1 hour. How long have we been on anyway? 43 minutes already. Where's the day gone? So just take your time, make sure you get regular breaks, because when you come back to a painting, you find, you know, you come back with fresh eyes. You always do. And very often find something, spot something that's not quite right. So you think, oh, actually, I could add a little bit more there, or I need to take some of that off. Or so come back in with fresh eyes, stretch your legs, get up, just go and put the kettle on, you know, make a cup of coffee, which is something I always do. And that's why my eyes are very wide open. And then, as I say, come back with fresh eyes, and you see what I mean then. You see what I mean by spotting something that little bit different. Just going to soften that down there. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to get my size 5 brush and very lightly soften this down. Not too wet. If you're working on a large area that you're softening down, you must keep washing this brush out. And make sure you take most of that water off before you go to the paint, otherwise just blur all the detail away. That's all that time doing that wasted, you know. Not that there should be any problem with time, but trying to think about lights. Somebody asked me a question the other day about the lights that you use. Well, up here, which you can't see off camera again, I wish I've got another camera on the go. You find the lights in question tend to be, I use filming lights. So these are big box lights. So I suppose they're probably about 2 foot by 3 foot, something like that. And I've got 2 of those over my painting table here, but not on at the moment because of the fact they interfere with this little camera of mine, this Logitech webcam. So I tend to work from 2 very large lights because I need them for the video work anyway, to make sure that all the detail comes out on the videos. But at the moment I'm using a couple of LED lights, which basically, I don't know if I can show you this one. There you go. Which are these here? I won't turn it around because it'll dazzle you. So I've got two of those on the go at the moment. As you can hear, one is extremely creaky, which I've borrowed from my partner Joe, just so I can go live with you today. You can tell I've got the technology here, can't you? Or lack of. So there you go. And they're them, you just touch them on the side. That's all they are. But they're very good, I must admit, they are very good. And these are on the very bendable arms. Okay, I have a quick look on there. Okay, what's the difference between lamp black and ivory black? Yeah, I find lamp black a very flat looking colour. This is Julie, by the way. Julie Andrew, thank you. Ivory black I've used in the past, but not very often. And it's got, I find ivory black is it's got a richer feel to the colour, so it's a richer mix. Well, lamp black on its own, which basically is this one here, okay, is quite dull, quite flat, I find. So I'll show you what I mean a lot. So I'll get a little bit on my brush. So that colour is quite flat on its own. You find ivory black, which I haven't got here, but I used to use that in the past, is a little bit richer in colour than that. Blacks do vary, believe it or not. But if I'm painting something like this, I'll add a little bit of alizarin crimson, or even, I don't know, just get a little bit of that colour, sort of like burnt sienna into the mix, just to kind of add a bit of colour to that black. And when you add more than one layer of this, every layer you put on, once this is dry obviously, make sure every layer is dry first, will get darker and darker and darker and darker, so you get a really jet black colour, but with a richness inside it as well. So that's what, you know, the difference I would normally say is, I've just stuck with lamp black for many years now, but I did used to use ivory black, yes. Okay, I hope that's explained it a little bit for you. Okay, so, oh yeah, thank you about the bee, it's very kind of you, everybody. Beautiful study, love it, thank you Kim. I love bumblebees, Amanda, thank you. Maria's, is a bee painted on cold pressed paper or hot pressed, Paul? Oh, now that's a good question, Maria. I'm not going to tell you. Is it a secret? No, of course I'll tell you. The bee is painted on the same paper I usually paint on, which is which is cold pressed. Which is cold pressed. That's what this one is. This is that Bockingford £140 cold pressed paper, which I've used for donkey's years. You know, I'll see if I can find a fresh pad of it for people that don't know the particular paint I use. So bear with me a minute while I kind of stretch around, see if I can stretch one without disconnecting anything. I'll be back. Now the Bockingford paper, I'm stretching here. I'm stretching, really stretching. Okay, is this one here. So that's a Bockingford block. So if I zoom out a little bit for you so you can just see what I'm looking at, which is that one, okay? So the Bockingford block, and it is, there you go, 12 inch by 9 inch, 310 by 230 millimeters. So that'll give us some ideas. And it's CP cold pressed, in brackets not, so it's not hot pressed, so basically it's got a bit of a texture to it. And as you can see, it's white. Now this particular block I use, out of interest, I'll just show you here a minute, is glued all the way around. So all the edges of this, I don't know if I can show you that, all the edges of this are glued all the way around, and because of that, that means that when I really wet this paper thoroughly, yes, it'll still cockle, still buckle, but it will dry nice and flat once it's really nice and dry. I just leave it to dry naturally normally. But to take that sheet of paper off the top, off the rest of these sheets of paper, there's a little tiny section just at the top there, just there. Just got my nail in there now, so you can just about make it out, I think. Just in that section there, and what I would use if I can stretch for it, I'm doing a lot of stretching past lights and camera and stuff like that here at the moment, is use a guitar pick, and then that would slide inside there, then that will slide all the way around, keeping it level to the paper though, all the way around to take that sheet of paper off. So that is what I would use the Bockingford block pad for. It just saves any stretching of papers and things like that, okay? So it's well worth bearing that in mind for that. A little bit of information there for you, hope that helps. So as I say, if you've got any questions, please ask, because you've got me now for probably another 5 or 10 minutes before I go and carry on to the rest of the day on a Sunday, on an Easter Sunday. Okay, I'll just put you back on the close-up view on that. Right, okay. Yes, you've watched Bob Ross. Thank you, Melinda. Yes, very good. I think I've watched every single one of his programs, Bob Ross. I really do think I've seen every one of those now, which is really good. Trying to work on that. And he always says about, a tree always needs a friend, doesn't he? A tree always needs a friend, was one of his sayings there, and I used to love that. And beat the living daylights out of it with his brush. I remember that as well. So I'm going to carry on with this colour and some more around here now. I'm just zooming into the reference photograph. Always have a very large photo, so you can just zoom into all the detail there like I'm doing here, look. So you can really pinch into those details. So you want a very large, very detailed reference photo. Now there's lots of places you can get them from, which are royalty free, so in other words you can use them free of charge. So it's a matter of looking on the internet. Pixabay.com is one. Now Pixabay, if I can spell that for you, is something like Pixabay. So scruffy handwriting today. Pixabay.com, and you usually find a whole bunch of royalty-free photographs on there you can use. So bear that in mind if you want to try and find some free photos on the old internet. So it's well worth doing that, and you can get some nice, large, detailed photos which you can do all your paintings from as well. And because they're royalty-free, I mean, they do expect you to hopefully thank the photographer. So if you use it for magazine articles, as I do, or for selling an original painting, or for doing a video tutorial, which as you know I do, then therefore you should always kind of just reference the photographer, which is why anybody buying my PDFs will see that usually on the first page of the PDF as well. Now I'm trying to think about, well, this goes around the top of the head. Don't know, I can think and talk and handle the cameras all at the same time. See, men can multitask sometimes, you know. Okay, now I want to strengthen these colours around there now. How long we got? I'll give it another probably 8 minutes or so, and then I'll call it a day, I think. So I'll leave you guys in peace on this lovely sunny, it's very sunny here actually today in North Devon. Lovely sunny afternoon, and very quiet, very peaceful as well. The birds are singing outside, and I hope you all have a nice day as well, because I know it's different times of the day in different places. I mean, it's going to be what it's like in the USA at the moment. So it's different time zones, but what time is it where you are now? Bearing in mind here it's 2 minutes to 4, okay, in the afternoon. So what time is it where you are? There's a question for you. Now I'm gradually increasing the lines just over this part. See what I mean? They're gradually getting deeper in colour. What you find, when you start on the base of the ears, which is around there, you then start from the mid-tone colours, which is something like that there, picking out where things go first of all. Just, and that'll extend up obviously above the ears. So you got this sort of a disc all the way around the top of the forehead, around the forehead there, sorry, and then working your way through. We still need to go that little bit darker, would you believe? Yeah. You know, looking at the colour here, it's not quite there yet. Not quite there. And it's trying to not get it looking too bright, because if it's too bright on the paper, it will look too artificial. Now, I painted a red squirrel for my partner Joe many years ago when we first met, and it was far too bright. Didn't look like, the colours was completely wrong then. But you live and you learn and you try different ideas out, and before you know it, you sort of get there then. So if you're just taking up watercolour at the moment, stick with it. Don't get too, upset if something's not working out. Treat it as a challenge every single time. I do, and I don't get everything right all the time. I don't. In fact, I get a lot of things wrong a lot of time, which you don't see on camera. So nobody's perfect, and I always put it down as a means of a challenge. Yes, it's frustrating sometimes if you can't quite get something right, but you should challenge yourself to learn how to do that and to practice it until you get there in the end, because you will. I know you will. So a lot of my members, a lot of people I've taught over the years, will get there. It just matters of getting through that frustration when you can't quite get it right. Okay, so that's gradually coming together there. Any more questions there? Sullen, thank you. Sullen Raven, the detail is amazing. It's so lovely to see how you work. I did art at school over 50 years ago, and I'm looking forward to starting over. There's much to learn. There is, and you're always learning as well, Sullen. You're always learning. I'm forever learning, you know. I know it's my uncle Peter Hopkinson, who is also an artist. I'm 51, nearly getting on for 52 nearly. Don't tell anybody, it's a secret. And he, I started painting in oils actually when I was 11 years old. And we used to go painting together. So me and my uncle, we used to go painting together on occasion around the Derbyshire landscape, which was brilliant. And he introduced me to the Chesterfield Society of Chesterfield Society of Art, which I joined when I was that age as well. But he used to say to me, he said, Paul, you know, I said, I can't see the detail. But he used to say to me, he said, Paul, you paint what you can see. It's that simple. You paint what you can see. Okay, if you want to make it up, that's your choice. But if you can't see and you get frustrated, paint what you can see. I know it sounds simple, but it's very, very true. It really is. And I don't know, I've never ever forgotten that. Never since that day, all them years ago. And I never will. And about the learning side of it, which is what I rambled on, is when you're learning, he also said to me as well that the thing is, you know, when people think they know it all, it's time to stop painting, because you're never going to learn anything else, are you? You're never going to learn any more. You'll never know it all. You'll never know everything about watercolour, or any painting style, or any hobby. You know, you might be very proficient in it. You might be very, very good in it. You know, you probably excel in it even. But you'll never know everything. There's always more to learn, and there always will be. And that's the way my head works, you know. I tend to think on those sorts of lines when I'm painting. And you know, I paint just about every day of the week, be it doing the videos, or well, I've got to edit the videos in between. But because I'm painting just about every day, you know, I'm learning new things all the time. And I suggest you take that on board. If things aren't going quite right, smile. I always do, and then attack it. Not with a Stanley knife or anything like that. Just attack it, okay? And aim to achieve what you want to set out to do. You will do it. Okay, there you go. There's a bit of a prep talk for you. Okay. What's that, Jonathan? If you can't do something well, then learn to enjoy doing it badly. Very good. That's a good saying, that, Jonathan. I have to remember that one. We've got different times there. 2 minutes to 4. Julia, okay. In the UK time, hello, Kim. 10:59. Thank you, Robert. Warwickshire, Amanda, yes. Andre, 15:56. Oh, well, no surprise there then, Andre. George A. Oh, yeah, 9:59 a.m. God, that's early where you are, isn't it? Very early. Let's have a quick look. Well, Jonathan, yes, thank you. Why would you use your Ramden brush if I cut the brush, would that fall apart if not crimped? Oh, yes, of course. Belinda, you're on about my replicator brush? I've not shown anybody that one on today, have I? Okay. Look, I'm going to have to go in a minute or two, but I'll quickly show you this, and I'm going to need to check the comments for the answer to the question as well. Now, replicator brush. I'll just stand up a minute, and I'll look out the window and say hello to everybody. No, I'll stand up. I'm going to get a pair of pliers. Yeah, I know, this looks odd, doesn't it? It really does look odd for a watercolourist. Now, this brush was ancient. Very, very old. And for this brush, what I want to do is create lots of lines in one go. So I'll load this brush up. I'll show you what I'm going to do with it in a minute. And this, I'll not do it on that just yet because I need to test it out. But this will create quite a lot of lines in one go. And all it simply is a very, very, very old brush. One that was going to go in the bin or in the trash. And because of that, this is great for doing grass, as you can see as well. But you don't often get grass this colour, mind you. All the basically done with this is found a very old brush, as I mentioned. Something that was literally ready for the bin. Got a pair of pliers and completely destroyed it. I crimped it like that really hard, got hold of the end, one side of it, twisted it out, turned it over, one side of it, twisted it out. You can see I've ruined the metal ferrule. I don't care. It's not a problem because it was going to go in the bin. So make sure you do this. If you're going to do this, do it with an old brush. And then you can use that to apply lots of detail fairly swiftly. Now the only thing with doing it with this, I would use this for the first 1 or 2 layers on a painting, is that the problem is that the lines can be very parallel sometimes. So do it for the first and second layer maybe, and then the third or any other layers thereafter, just use your 00 brush. But you can see how quickly I can add lots of lines. So imagine doing a cat, a dog, so fur, even feathers, you could work in this method. But use a paler colour and gradually build up the layers as you go and kind of deepen that colour as you go along as well. Alright, so there's a little tip for you using my little replicator brush, as I called it. So something I've used for a few years now. But hey, but it works really well indeed. So I hope that's explained that one for you. That one was a round one, Robert. Yes, it was. Yes, it's a rake brush. You can buy them. Yes, you can. You can buy, I've got one here actually, which is this one. This one is by Rosemary & Co. As a coma brush or rake brush. Yes, same difference. Series 2230, just give you some ideas. And that's quite a nice brush actually as well. But that does the same kind of thing. But I do find it a little bit too uniform, I don't know. I like the way I've made mine. It seems to work really well. So a little project for you today. Dig out an old brush, very old brush that you don't mind ruining, and a pair of pliers, and give it a go. And don't blame me if you don't get it right, okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're working a few more details in there. Now before I go, I just want to show you a little bit more of this with extra colours. I'm going to go for some of this triple mix there, as I mentioned, which was the Indian red, alizarin crimson, and the burnt sienna. And I'm going to get a touch of burnt umber in there. Maybe a touch more, just a little bit more. Just like that, that's better. So I'm going to load it, I'm going to roll it, and then I'm going to tap it on some kitchen roll once or twice, just taking the residual paint off. And then this would be used, probably need a little bit more actually, this would be used for those slightly darker marks. And you gradually start to increase this detail around the eyes a little bit more, because it's a little bit dark around here. Then, so I know, because I've got to go, I just want to show you these little bits. So I thought I'd limit to 1 hour today. So if I do the same again, get some more burnt umber, pop it in there, and then a little bit of lamp black off shot. You can't see that one, I know. So a little bit of lamp black. Remember to add a colour if you're using black paint, be it lamp black or ivory black, whichever black you're using. So now we've got a darker colour there, as you can see. And then this one can be added in just marginally, tiny marks, barely touching that paper. So basically using 2 airs and air, that's it, 2 airs and air. So hardly touching it. Just add a little bit of a hint of that colour. Bearing in mind as well, over the top of the eye we'll be using white paint to a certain degree, not completely white, but a little bit of white, and then tinting that down with just probably a little bit of raw umber maybe, just to tint it slightly. And because we're using a ceramic palette, we can vary this mix as we go along. You can either use a big wide palette if you want to, but I prefer ceramic because it tends to dry nice and flat within the ceramic palette itself. You find, because my board's on an angle, I was going to tell you about this anyway. Let's say for example the blue here, well, now we've got mixtures I mentioned of cerulean blue and a little bit of indigo in there. That's what it's like within probably a couple of layers or so around this area here. This is what the kind of depth of colour you'll be able to get with this by adding more than one layer. Now that's dried lovely in there. Now if you did this, just about apart from there, if you did this within a plastic palette, I'm sure you realise yourself, you very often just get a ball of water with colour in it. So that's why ceramic or some old saucers, white saucers, anything that you can use is really handy to use for when you're watercolour painting, because obviously the way that the paint lies on the surface and you can really see what you've got. So it's a good way of seeing the colours within it. Okay, and I think on that note I might call it a day. So I'm going to have a look at the comments on there now. I'm going to quickly scroll through and see if anybody's got the answer to my question right at the very beginning about bird-wise, what bird have I not painted that's got iridescent colours? Do you remember what it was? Oh, okay, I'll tell you in a minute. Nearly there. So I'm sure we're all ready for a cup of coffee now, aren't we? Let's have a quick look. Okay. Let's have a quick look at the comments. Thanks for today's stream. When is the next part? Kim, well, I'm trying to work out when to go because I'm trying to get some video editing done as well during the week, as well as painting. I was thinking about doing similar kind of time, if not the same time, next Sunday possibly. So 3 o'clock UK time next Sunday, same time, same place. And what I'll probably do, if you go to my Devon Artist YouTube channel, which you'll see when this video is finished, click on my name down below if you can, and then you can just subscribe to the channel and then you get notified when I'm live again. Plus also when you go to that channel you see that I'm live there and then at 3 o'clock, and then you can just click on the video to watch, so you can do it that way around. One thing I must ask people to do, if you don't mind, please do this for me because it's really worth it for me, is click on the subscribe button down below, and when you click on that subscribe button then click on the bell icon. Now when you click on that bell icon after subscribing, then you'll be notified when I put a video on here and also when I'm live, okay? So it's well worth noting that down. So click on subscribe and then bell. There you go. Alright, just if you don't mind doing that, would be brilliant. Thank you. A quick look on there. Okay. Do you always work from the end of the head to the base? I do, yeah, I certainly do. Thank you. It's just something I've always done. The way it tends to work on there. So thank you, Julie. Lucy, how do you make a milky kind of paint? Well, you could use watercolor white, and the one I tend to use is this particular one, which is, I don't get paid by them again, which is SAA, Society for All Artists, opaque white. This is white I love using. But you can get a Winsor & Newton one, professional white, which is titanium white for watercolor, and that's got a good opaque. Bear that word in mind, opaque, because some are not opaque, some are semi-transparent, some are semi-opaque. So it's worth remembering that. So have a look around, see what you can find, and you can add a little bit of colour that to get like a milky feel to it. Sullen, thank you for many helpful tips and such an interesting and enjoyable tutorial. Not a problem at all, you're more than welcome. Melinda B, yes, thank you, no problem. Don't forget to hit the like button, everyone, it helps. Thank you, Maria, you are a star, thumbs up to you. Kaylee, thank you, Paul, enjoyed your tutorial, not a problem. Amanda, thank you very much, Paul. Really appreciated the time you've taken today. Right, everybody, I've been scrolling through here while I've been yapping. Believe it or not, I can do a lot of things here. And I think the first answer is, would you believe it? Maria Cleaver. Thank you, Maria. Maria Cleaver. Now, Maria has got it right by saying the painting I've not done of a bird with iridescent colours yet, which is one I keep meaning to paint. I've got my own photographs of it as well, so we get them here in North Devon, are a starling. So a starling. Now if you've ever seen a starling in the bright sunlight, the colours are brilliant, they really are, and that's why I want to paint at some point a starling as a video tutorial. Okay, so well done, Maria Cleaver. You're welcome now to a free PDF from my website. You've got my email, I've dealt with you in the past, you know that. Send me an email with a link to the one that you would like me to email back to you, and I'll do that today for you, okay? So well done, Maria Cleaver. Everybody give her a clap. She got it right first time. So thank you very much indeed. And until next time around, I'm going to say goodbye. So thank you everybody again for joining me today. And stay well, stay safe, and stay at home, okay? It's so I know you've heard it so many times, but we must do. And we have to stay prepared. And until next time around, I'll see you then. Okay, bye for now. Now, one of the paintings I've been wanting to do for quite a while now is to paint a horse chestnut bud. So this is going to be quite a lot of texture, a lot of colour involved with this. Also quite a bit of detail as well. So I'm going to go through a variety of techniques along the way, from wetting wet, dry brush, lifting off, using watercolour white, and one thing we will not be using this time round is black. I know, makes a change. So no black paint, no lamp black or anything like that. And don't forget, this is also real-time video, so I talk as I paint, explaining every single thing I do as I go. So here's a little preview video for you on how to paint towards Chestnut Bud. Right, so there you go. So I'll give you some ideas on how to paint a horse chestnut bud. So find a little bit of that me time and let's get them brushes wet. And let's paint wildlife in watercolour on devonartist.co.uk. Thank you everybody for joining me today. Absolutely brilliant, loved every minute of it. And now I'm going to rest my voice and have a nice cup of coffee. Bye for now.